All right, we're going to be going through the solutions to worksheet G. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is in the initial paragraph, they tell you this moment of inertia of the yo-yos as 1/2 mr squared. And you'll notice that for an AP problem, if they need to give you the moment of inertia, they'll give you the exact formula for that device. A lot of times it's some fraction in front of the mass times a radius squared. The exact fraction just depends on the type of shape that is rotating. Typical discs and solid cylinders have 1/2 in front of the mr squared value, but they'll give it to you if you need it. Other things we should pay attention to is that they give us these variables like mass, radius, and height, and we'll have to use those later when we go to do derivations. For the free body diagrams in part A, you first want to just kind of see the difference of this person just dropping the yo-yo, so it's just in free fall on its way down, whereas this person is letting it unroll by the string. So that'll make the difference of just drawing it of just the force of gravity compared to what they call a force diagram, where you actually have to draw the forces at their particular locations. So for the one that's just in free fall, we should just have a steady force of gravity pulling down, and I'm going to give it this value of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 blocks, the entire distance that they give me. And that way over here, I draw from the center of mass also that same exact length of vector, and I'm going to try to use that capital M that they told me in the problem times G. So the weight of the yo-yos doesn't change. The only thing that's different is this yo-yo that's being unrolled by the string has this tension force upward. And it's not exactly clear in the setup, but they do intend that tension force to be less than the weight. So this yo-yo is also accelerating downward, just not as fast as the one in free fall. In part B, your explanation should rely on the fact that if something is in free fall, it's accelerating at exactly 9.8 meters per second squared. Whereas this yo-yo that's being unraveled, it's trying to get pulled down at a rate of 9.8 meters per second squared, but this tension force is working against that pulling force downward. So the yo-yo that's being unraveled with the string will have a smaller acceleration because its net force is less. And with a smaller net force, it should have smaller acceleration. All right, now comes everyone's favorite part, the derivations. So when you're deriving this stuff, let me kind of zoom in here for you. They want an expression for yo-yo 1 and yo-yo 2. And so let's just start with yo-yo 1. That's the one that's, I think, easiest to derive because it's just in free fall. So yo-yo 1 is just going to be kind of picking up speed at a rate of 9.8. Well, that becomes a kinematics problem. It's going to fall from a height h, and at a rate, the acceleration will just be the acceleration due to gravity. And you can write out a formula from delta x equals 1/2 at squared plus initial velocity times time. And if we kind of go through that, there is no initial velocity as it's falling. It's starting from rest, so all of this middle term will go to 0. And some of these other variables, what you can just swap out. The delta x is like height. The acceleration is just g. So if we write this expression again, this is really capital H equals 1/2 gt squared. And finally solving for the time it takes, if you get TL by itself, we would double each side. So take each side times, whoops, let me redo that. Take each side times 2, times 2 divided by g, and do the same thing on this side, times 2 divided by g, and then that would get rid of these terms, and then we'd finally have to square root both sides. So that looks pretty messy, but your final solution then would be t is equal to the square root of 2h over g. That's how much time it's going to take yo-yo 1 to hit the ground in free fall. For yo-yo 2, we have similar idea that we want to try to set up. It is also falling a displacement, and that should equal 1/2 at squared. The problem is that this acceleration we don't exactly know yet. It's not falling at 9.8 like yo-yo 1. So the first part of this is we need to actually solve and figure out what is the acceleration rate of this yo-yo that's getting pulled up on, and we can solve that using a couple of the torque equations. So the theory in this is that in order to get ourselves to a solution, we have to know the difference between that weight downward and this force of tension back upward. If we can know the net force will equal that weight downward minus that force of tension, and that should all equal mass times acceleration. Problem is, though, we also don't know the force of tension. So for that, we're actually going to have to go back to the torque equation that says torque equals I times alpha. And if we could set up this, we could actually solve for the amount of force and know how much tension there is in that, because we know that torque is equal to I alpha, and also that torque is equal to a force times a radius. So I set those two formulas equal to each other, force times radius and I times alpha, and I end up with this expression, force times radius, which I think they use, let's go back, they use a capital R, so we'll try to use the same variables that they do over there. So let me just erase that. We'll try to use capital R, because that is the radius at which the force would be pulling, and that should be equal to I, which they gave us as 1/2 capital MR squared times alpha. And instead of writing alpha, we're going to go back to an expression from large group. We know that linear acceleration equals radius times angular acceleration. So I can use that to solve for alpha. Alpha is just the same thing as saying linear acceleration divided by radius. And the reason we're going to do that is because that gets us this acceleration that we're interested in is, to use up here in the formula. So if we start solving, we have a radius here that can cross out. And then if you look on both sides of the formula, you got a radius here and a radius here that cross out. And so that leaves you with F of tension equals 1/2 mass times acceleration. So now I have a way of quantifying this force in the equation. It's 1/2 ma, and that's going to help me solve this net force equation. So back up to here, if I take this and start solving, I have m times g minus 1/2 m times a is equal to ma. And if I try to get like terms over to the same side, I got m times g equals ma plus 1/2 ma. So mg, actually let's cross out all the m's. There's m's on every single term. So let's get rid of that. So I really just have, let's see, g is going to equal, if you got 1a plus another 1/2 of an a, you got 1.5a. So a equals 2/3 of g. If you divide each side by 1.5, you end up getting 2/3. So the acceleration of this yo-yo is only 2/3 of the acceleration of gravity. And now that I know that, I can plug that way up here into A. And that leaves me with the delta x equals 1/2 at squared. The delta x is the height. Take that times 1/2 times 2/3 g t squared. Solving, it's just substituting that in for A. Break that down a little bit more, and you got height equals 1/3 g t squared. So now we need to solve for time. Times each side by 3 over g, times by 3 over g. Then you're going to square root both sides, and again, a little messy, but pretty much what we end up with is that time is going to equal the square root of 3h over g. So just comparing the values, time equals 3h over g compared to 2h over g, you can see that this yo-yo is going to take longer with the 3 under the radical, giving you a bigger time compared to just 2 under the radical. The expressions look very, very similar, but because of that difference in the tension force upward, this one's going to take more time to hit the ground. All right, for part D, it is a type of free response question where they want a clear, coherent paragraph. One of the free response in the AP exam always has you do this style of writing, and it's important to just kind of see what is it that they want me to answer. It's whichever one has a greater impulse, yo-yo 1 or yo-yo 2. So for that, we have to first know what impulse is. Impulse is the change in momentum, which is just the change in mass times velocity. Well, neither one is going to change their mass more than the other because they're the same type of yo-yo. But the one that's going to change velocity more is going to be the yo-yo that was going faster. You think about it like this, the final velocity of both yo-yos is 0. So whichever one had a higher velocity coming into the ground is going to have to be the one with the largest change or the largest impulse. So we have that math already kind of laid out as far as like which one's going to be going fast, but just kind of to review off to the side, the yo-yo 1 that was in free fall, so that one started at rest and went faster and faster and faster and faster, and so by the time it dropped this height h, okay, it was going pretty fast with an acceleration of 9.8, so a equaled g on the way down. But yo-yo 2 yo-yo 2 had a smaller acceleration value, and so it doesn't pick up speed at the same rate, and so by the time it hits the ground, this v final is less than, so we can do like a greater than sign. V final for that yo-yo is less than the V final for the red yo-yo, or the yo-yo 1. And again, the reason for that is that this acceleration was only like 2/3 of g. And so sometimes we can get trapped in like some of the logic we've done with like, I thought all objects fall at the same rate, shouldn't they be going the same speed? And we can talk ourselves out of what we just did for the problem. Keep in mind, this is not two objects under free fall. Yo-yo 2 had totally different conditions on it. It had more than one force. The net force was not just coming from gravity, so it had a smaller acceleration value, and within that same height then of traveling, the same distance of traveling, it would have to have a smaller velocity. So planning out your paragraph is a little tricky, but if you kind of follow the logic of claim, evidence, and reasoning on these, that's kind of what they're looking for as far as your organization. What is your claim that you're making? What is the evidence that supports that claim? And then what's the reasoning behind it? So you're going to claim that yo-yo 1 is going to have the largest impulse, or a greater impulse. And the evidence of that is, here's where you can reference the equation. So based on impulse equaling a change in momentum, whichever one changes the most velocity will have the biggest change in momentum. And then you can keep going into the reasoning, I guess, and how you know that it has more velocity. You can reference kinematics equations and to kind of get at this idea of like, how do you know which one's going faster? But I want you to think about, if you're referencing like VVAT, well, this could be a little confusing because yes, it's true that yo-yo 1 spends less acceleration, or has less acceleration, but actually has more time to be moving. And so this could kind of get into trouble where you're not really sure, like, does that offset? Do we actually end up at the same velocity? And what's an easier equation to use to justify this is thinking of a kinematics equation where there's really only one difference in the two ideas. So in this equation, the final velocity that they will attain, they both start with initial velocity of 0. They both are going the same height, and therefore whichever one has the largest acceleration value will be the one that has the most final velocity. So this one here has the largest acceleration at g, and therefore it will have the bigger final velocity. So using this time-independent equation is a good reference in trying to explain it. don't just list equation after equation. Make sure you are using them in sentences, and it's kind of a clear flow of logic from this is what it means to have a bigger impulse. Here's the equation for that. This is my claim that which one's going to have a bigger impulse because of it going faster. And here's my proof of it going faster using a kinematics equation. And that is worksheet G. So if you have any additional questions, make sure you stop in and go over it with me or another teacher and get all your questions answered. Have a great day.